The next sutta is 36.21. On one occasion, the Blessed One was dwelling at Rajagaha, in the bamboo grove, the squirrel sanctuary. Then the wanderer, Molya Sivaka, approached the Blessed One and exchanged greetings with him. When they had concluded their greetings and cordial talk, he sat down to one side and said to the Blessed One, Master Gotama, there are some ascetics and Brahmins who hold such a doctrine and view as this. Whatever a person experiences, whether it be pleasant or painful, or neither painful nor pleasant, all that is caused by what was done in the past. What does Master Gotama say about this? In other words, I was trying to say that all feelings are caused by karma, past karma. And the Buddha said, some feelings, Sivaka, arise here originating from bowel disorders. That some feelings arise here originating from bowel disorders, one can know for oneself, and that is considered to be true in the world. Now when those ascetics and Brahmins hold such a doctrine and view as this, whatever a person experiences, whether it be pleasant or painful, or neither painful nor pleasant, all that is caused by what was done in the past. They overshoot what one knows by oneself, and they overshoot what is considered to be true in the world. Therefore, I say that this is wrong on the part of those ascetics and Brahmins. Some feelings, Sivaka, arise here originating from phlegm disorders, originating from wind disorders, originating from an imbalance of the tree, originating by change or produced by change of climate, produced by careless behavior, caused by assault is chance external happenings, and finally produced as the result of karma. That some feelings arise here produced as the result of karma, one can know for oneself, and that is considered to be true in the world. Now when those ascetics and Brahmins hold such a doctrine and view as this, whatever a person experiences, whether it be pleasant or painful, or neither painful nor pleasant, all that is caused by what was done in the past. They overshoot what one knows by oneself, and they overshoot what is considered to be true in the world. Therefore, I say that this is wrong on the part of those ascetics and Brahmins. When this was said, the wanderer Molya Sivaka said to the Blessed One, Magnificent Master Gotama, magnificent Master Gotama. And then he took refuge in the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha and became a lay follower. Bile, phlegm and also wind, imbalance and climate too, carelessness and assault, with karma result as the aid. So here you can see that when we suffer, that means our body suffers. There are 8 reasons. One is bowel disorder, another one is phlegm, another one because of wind, and then the 4th is because of imbalance of the tree. That means imbalance of the bile, phlegm and the wind. And then the 5th is because of climate change. 6 is because of our carelessness. 7 because of chance external happenings. And then the 8 is because of karma. So not everything is due to karma. The next sutta, 36.22. Monks, I will teach you a Dhamma exposition on the theme of 108. Listen to that. And what monks is the Dhamma exposition on the theme of the 108? I have spoken of 2 kinds of feelings by one method of exposition. I have spoken of 3 kinds of feelings by another method of exposition. I have spoken of 5 kinds of feelings, 6 kinds of feelings, 18 kinds, 36 kinds, and I have spoken of 108 kinds of feelings. And what monks are the 2 kinds of feelings? Bodily and mental. These are called the 2 kinds of feelings. And what monks are the 3 kinds of feelings? Pleasant feeling, painful feeling, neither painful nor pleasant feeling. These are the 3 kinds of feelings. And what monks are the 5 kinds of feelings? The pleasure faculty, the pain faculty, the joy faculty, the displeasure faculty, the equanimity faculty. These are called the 5 kinds of feelings. And what monks are the 6 kinds of feelings? Feeling born of eye contact, feeling born of ear contact, nose contact, tongue contact, body contact, mind contact. These are called the 6 kinds of feeling. And what monks are the 18 kinds of feelings? 6 examinations accompanied by joy, 6 examinations accompanied by displeasure, 6 examinations accompanied by equanimity. These are called the 18 kinds of feeling. How do you get the 6? It must be the 6th sense, at the 6th sense doors. At the 6th sense doors, if you experience joy, there are 6 kinds of feelings. And if you experience displeasure, there is another 6 kinds of feelings because of the different bases. And then the equanimity. So 6 times 3, you get 18. And what monks are the 36 kinds of feelings? 6 types of joy based on the household life, 6 types of joy based on renunciation, 6 types of displeasure based on the household life, 6 types of displeasure based on renunciation, 6 types of equanimity based on the household life, 6 types of equanimity based on renunciation. These are called the 36 kinds of feelings. And what monks are the 108 kinds of feelings? The above 36 feelings in the past, the above 36 feelings in the future, the above 36 feelings at present. These are called the 108 kinds of feelings. This, monks, is the Dhamma exposition on the theme of the 108. That's the end. The first two are 2 kinds of body feelings, body and mental. Body feelings originate from the body. That means, say you cut your finger or something, so you have a bodily feeling. And then mental feeling comes from the mind. So for example, if you suffer bodily pain, and then you start thinking about it, and then the more you think, the more you have mental suffering. So the mental suffering comes from the mind. The 3 kinds of feeling is this one you understand. The 5 kinds of feeling, 2, the pain and the pleasure from the body, pain and pleasure from the mind, and then the equanimity feeling. Okay, I think it's enough about that sutta. The next sutta is 36.23. Then a certain monk approached the Blessed One, paid homage to him, sat down to one side and said, Prabhu Sir, what now is feeling? What is the origin of feeling? What is the way leading to the origination of feeling? What is the cessation of feeling? What is the way leading to the cessation of feeling? What is the gratification in feeling? What is the danger? What is the escape? And the Buddha said, there are among these 3 feelings, pleasant feeling, painful feeling, neither painful nor pleasant feeling. This is called feeling. With the arising of contact, there is the arising of feeling. That means arising of contact at the 6 sense basis. There is the arising of feeling. Craving is the way leading to the origination of feeling. Why is craving the way leading to the origination of feeling? Because feeling comes from the body, and the body comes from craving, right? Because of craving, we have rebirth. The rounds of rebirth. So that's why craving is the way leading to the origination of feeling. With the cessation of contact, there is the cessation of feeling. This noble eightfold path is the way leading to the cessation of feeling. That is right view, right thoughts, etc. The pleasure and joy that arise in dependence on feeling. This is the gratification in feeling. That feeling is impermanent, suffering, and subject to change. This is the danger in feeling. The removal and abandonment of desire and lust for feeling. This is the escape from feeling. That's the end of the sutta. So here you see, it's a very concise explanation of feeling. The feeling arises from contact at the 6 sense basis, and then the origination of feeling, feeling comes from the body, and the body comes from craving that produces the round of rebirths. That's why craving is said to be the origination of feeling. And when there's no contact, there's no feeling. The Noble Eightfold Path is the way leading to the permanent cessation of feeling. Okay. The next sutta is 36.31. Monks, there is carnal delight. Here they say rapture, the word is piti. I like to translate as delight. There is spiritual delight. There is delight more spiritual than the spiritual. There is carnal happiness, sukha. There is spiritual happiness, and there is happiness more spiritual than the spiritual. There is carnal equanimity, upekkha. There is spiritual equanimity, and there is equanimity more spiritual than the spiritual. There is carnal deliverance or liberation or release. The Pali word is vimokha. There is spiritual release. There is release more spiritual than the spiritual. And what monks is carnal delight? There are monks. These 5 chords of sensual pleasure. What 5? Forms cognizable by the eye that are lovely, enticing, etc. And then sounds, smells, taste, touch that are desirable, lovely, agreeable, pleasing, sensually enticing, tantalizing. These are the 5 chords of sensual pleasure. The delight that arises in dependence on these 5 chords of sensual pleasure, this is called carnal delight. And what, stop here for a moment. This delight, piti, is not supposed to be a feeling. Feeling is happiness, the pleasure and displeasure and equanimity. But this piti is not exactly feeling. Exactly what it is very hard to say because our mind consists of many constituents in the mind. So like feeling, perception, volition and all that, all part of the mind. So this delight is not defined under Vedana, not defined under feeling. What monks is spiritual delight? Here secluded from sensual pleasures, secluded from unwholesome states, a monk enters and dwells in the first jhana, which is accompanied by thought directed and sustained, with delight and happiness born of seclusion. With the subsiding and thought directed and sustained, he enters and dwells in the second jhana, which has internal confidence and unification of mind, is without thought directed and sustained, and has delight and happiness born of concentration. This is called spiritual delight. So here spiritual delight consists of the first jhana and the second jhana. And what monks is the delight more spiritual than the spiritual? When a monk whose asavas are destroyed reviews his mind liberated from lust, liberated from hatred, liberated from delusion, there arises delight. This is called delight more spiritual than the spiritual. So here you can understand what is this delight. Delight is just, to the layman, delight is just a feeling. But somehow in the Buddha's definition, feeling does not seem to include delight. And what monks is carnal happiness? There are monks, these 5 chords of sensual pleasure. What 5? Forms, sounds, smells, taste and touch that are desirable, lovely, agreeable, pleasing, sensually enticing, tantalizing. The happiness that arises in dependence on these 5 chords of sensual pleasure, this is called carnal happiness. And what monks is spiritual happiness? Here monks, secluded from sensual pleasures, a monk enters and dwells in the first jhana, second jhana, third jhana. This is called spiritual happiness. So spiritual happiness goes up from the first jhana to the third jhana. And what monks is happiness more spiritual than the spiritual? When a monk whose asavas are destroyed reviews his mind liberated from lust, liberated from hatred, liberated from delusion, there arises happiness. This is called happiness more spiritual than the spiritual. So you can see the difference may be, it's a shade of difference between delight and happiness. So in the case of this Arahant, he has just become liberated. Then when he reviews his mind having become liberated, you can imagine probably first he has delight, and then after that is followed by happiness. And what monks is carnal equanimity, upekkha. There are monks, these 5 chords of sensual pleasure. What 5? Forms, sounds, smells, taste, touch that are desirable, lovely, agreeable, pleasing, etc. These are the 5 chords of sensual pleasure. The equanimity that arises in dependence on these 5 chords of sensual pleasure, this is called carnal equanimity. For example, you are on a very hot day, you are bothered by the heat and the dampness, and then you enter a room which is aircon, temperature is just right, and then when you stay in there, then all your disturbed feelings all subside, and then you feel equanimity. And what monks is spiritual equanimity, with the abandoning of pleasure and pain, and with the previous passing away of joy and displeasure. A monk enters and dwells in the fourth jhana, which is neither painful nor pleasant, and includes the utter purification of sati and equanimity. And what monks is equanimity more? So here, this fourth jhana, there is utter purification of mindfulness and equanimity. That type of equanimity in the fourth jhana is called the spiritual equanimity. And what monks is equanimity more spiritual than the spiritual? When a monk whose asavas are destroyed reviews his mind, liberated from lust, liberated by hatred, liberated from delusion, there arises equanimity. This is called equanimity more spiritual than the spiritual. So probably, going back to the example I gave just now, that probably the Arahant, after he becomes liberated, and then when he reviews his struggle, how he became liberated, first there is delight that he has succeeded, and after that there is happiness, then after later, then his mind becomes equanimous. And what monks is carnal release, vimokkha. Deliverance, release connected with the form sphere is carnal release. It probably means attainment of the rupa jhana. And what monks is spiritual release. Release connected with the formless sphere is spiritual release. Probably means the arupa jhanas. And what monks is release more spiritual than the spiritual. When a monk whose asavas are destroyed reviews his mind, liberated from lust, from hatred, from delusion, there arises release. This is called release more spiritual than the spiritual. That's the end of the sutta. I think I can stop here tonight. Just finish the Vedana Samyutta.
That's not the indication that person attains first jhana, speech, and second jhana, thought, meditation, speech.
Yeah.
Okay, speech,
When a person attains the first jhana, his mind is absorbed on the object of his meditation. He has this thought directed and sustained. Thought directed and sustained means, for example, he's meditating on the breath, anapanasati. So when he's putting his mindfulness on the breath, whenever his mind runs away, he directs it back to the breath. That is called thought directed, vitaka. And then vichara is sustaining the attention on the breath, keeping it there. That is vichara. So if he continues like this, then the other factors arise, piti, sukha, and ekagata arise. Then he has entered the first jhana. So his mind is absorbed in the object of meditation. So he cannot speak. You see, for you to speak, you have to think first. You have to think. But in that state of the first jhana, he cannot think. His mind is already absorbed in the object of meditation. He cannot simply think to talk. So he cannot speak. Okay? So in the second jhana, it says the thought directed and sustained ceases. Now, after a monk attains the first jhana, he has to constantly abide in that jhana until he is quite proficient in that jhana. Okay? Then, later, when he wants to enter the second jhana, instead of putting his attention on the breath, because now he's become, after much practice, he has become quite steady in the first jhana. After he's got some confidence in the first jhana, he can stay longer in the first jhana. Then he turns his attention from the breath to the piti and sukha. So when he turns his attention to piti and sukha, that is provided piti and sukha are strong enough. Yeah. So then his mind absorbs into piti and sukha and he's forgotten about the breath. So when he has forgotten about the breath, then he enters the second jhana. He's no more concerned with the breath. So that paying attention on the breath is that vitaka and vichara. So when he enters the second jhana, there is no more vitaka and vichara. He has released, let go of the vitaka and vichara, and his mind is absorbed on piti and sukha. And then only he enters the second jhana. Okay?
So it's actually targeting at the fourth jhana for the integration. For further than that, is more of a better form of activity.
The Buddha says that perfect samadhi, samma samadhi, in the Noble Eightfold Path is the four jhanas. If you have attained the four jhanas, it's mentioned in some sutta, that everything becomes very clear to you. The mind becomes so clear because it's rid of all the defilements. And also you notice in the definition of the fourth jhana, there's complete purity of sati and equanimity. The mind is very equanimous, not disturbed at all. Then when the person comes out of the fourth jhana, the mind is so clear that whatever he contemplates, he can understand very well. So like for example, on the night of the Buddha's enlightenment, he entered the four jhanas, and then he came out of the fourth jhana, and then he contemplated his past life. Because the mind was so sharp, so strong, he could easily recall the past life. So the four jhanas are enough for a person to have psychic power. So the higher than the fourth jhana, the rupa jhanas, the mind opens up to boundless space, boundless consciousness and all that. And those are bonus issues. Not necessary. If you can get that, even better.
It's not only mentioned that the highest jhana, which is the non-perception, the is actually the highest jhana state.
Normally, the Buddha talks about the four jhanas and the four arupa jhanas. The highest arupa jhana is the state of neither perception nor non-perception, where the mind is like a candlelight, which is almost about to blow off. Sometimes it seems that there is light, sometimes like there's no light like that. So the consciousness is waning. The consciousness is about to go off. So sometimes there is perception, sometimes there is no perception. That's why it says neither perception nor non-perception. That is a very high state where the mind is almost going to stop already. Then after that is a cessation of perception and feeling. That is not included under the arupa jhana, but it can be considered as a kind of concentration, the topmost, the highest, where the mind consciousness just stops. When perception and feeling stops, then consciousness stops, and all the rest, feeling, perception, volition, thinking, everything stops. Never thought of that before. Mm. 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 Here, Ananda, with the abandoning of pleasure and pain, is this pleasure and pain is body pleasure and pain, And then with the previous passing away of joy and displeasure, this is mental pleasure and pain, Monk enters and dwells in the fourth jhana, which is neither painful nor pleasant, and includes the purification of mind. So from here it appears like equanimity is similar to the state of neither painful nor pleasant feeling. But this, for people in their normal consciousness, normal state of consciousness, we may experience this neither painful nor pleasant feeling, that means this equanimous feeling for a short while, and then it will be quickly succeeded by other feelings, because our feelings are changing so fast. I remember the simile given by the Buddha is that like the raindrops falling on the pond. As soon as one drop of rain falls on the surface of the pond, a bubble arises, and then it bursts. And then another drop falls, and then a bubble arises, and it bursts. So when it rains, there's a lot of raindrops. So the feelings arise and pass away, like the many bubbles arise and pass away. But in the fourth jhana, it's different. In the fourth jhana, the mental happiness and suffering has stopped. The bodily happiness and pain also has stopped. So he's completely equanimous for as long as he remains in the fourth jhana. If he stays in that fourth jhana 24 hours, then for 24 hours he only experiences this equanimity, neither painful nor pleasant. That's why it's called utter purification, sati and equanimity. I think this translation is wrong. Purification of mindfulness by equanimity is a complete purification of sati and equanimity. Which one?
The painful, neither painful nor pleasant feeling, and another one is equanimity.
Are you talking about the fourth jhana or not?
I'm talking about the feeling.
That one is the neither painful
nor pleasant feeling.
There is in the sutta it is mentioned that neutral feeling, there is a tendency to be ignorant of it. Being ignorant of it means you don't notice it. But whether you notice it or you don't notice it, it still exists. Doesn't matter whether you notice it or you don't notice it. It is still equanimity.
What I mean is that when a person is feeling so you will feel the neither painful nor pleasant feeling. When a person doesn't have ignorance, you feel the equanimity.
This ignorance is different from the dependent origination ignorance. This is ignorant of the feeling, not aware, not mindful of the feeling.
Then he still has ignorance. He is ignorant of all this, the feeling and all this, how to stop the karma and all this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you will have the feeling, and the feeling neither painful nor pleasant feeling.
Mm-hmm.
That is a feeling of the nature you feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
So when he doesn't have any more ignorant, realize the truth and all this. So you have the equanimous feeling.
It's the same, isn't it?
It's the same, but because of the ignorance there, when a person is ignorant and then the other person don't have ignorance anymore.
I don't see the point. What is the point? Now we are talking about what's the difference between between equanimity and neither painful nor pleasant feeling.
That is different. That means this feeling, the feeling neither painful nor pleasant feeling is still not arahant feeling. It is, this feeling can be like common people who have this feeling.
I don't think so, no? Because, yeah.
I think what Samyutta was trying to say is the quality in the fourth jhana quality, rather than the normal quality when you're not in jhana.
Is that what you're trying to say?
Describe it in this way. In this way, they describe it. The person this will experience this way. The other person will experience this way.
Where is it stated?
The same feeling, but it's described in another way.
But where is it stated? Yes. So the carnal equanimity is this sensual pleasure can also give rise to equanimity sometimes. As I mentioned, like when a person is very hot, outside is very hot, he's bothered by the heat, so he's feeling unpleasant body feeling and unpleasant mental feeling. Then he enters the aircon room, then the aircon cools down all his feelings, then he's feeling equanimity. So this equanimity, Putu Jhana can also experience. It's also called equanimity. And then spiritual equanimity, that's on page 1285. 1285. 1285. Carnal equanimity is because of the 5 chords of sensual pleasure, he can also experience equanimity. Then spiritual equanimity is the 4th jhana. It's a higher kind of equanimity because it lasts long. If he enters the jhana for 1 hour, he experiences only equanimity for 1 hour. Whereas the other one, the first one, carnal equanimity, the feelings are changing all the time. So he may feel equanimous for a short while, and then after that his feelings change again. So equanimity is not only experienced by the Arahant, it's experienced by Putu Jhana, it can be experienced by anybody.
The phrase where the mind will draw body in body, feeling, etc., and then having put aside covetousness for the world and
grief.
pleasure.
Yeah.
Some would grief and
Yeah.
pleasure. So can you explain that they have overcome the now, they have overcome the confusions?
No, you didn't notice. I explained this, I think, more than once. That if an ordinary person, you are moved by the 6 sense objects, sights, sounds, smells, taste, and all that, because you pay attention to them. Then, when you are moved by them, when they give you pleasant feeling, you crave for it. So that craving for it gives rise to covetousness. Covetousness is wanting to covet, wanting to possess. So wanting to possess something is an unwholesome state. It's an unwholesome state. It gives rise to defilements. And then if you cannot get it, then you feel grief, the other extreme. you feel grief. So that's why if a person is not careful, he doesn't guard the six sense doors, then he will feel this unwholesome states of covetousness and grief coming to attack him. Having put aside, that means he has trained his mind to withdraw from the six sense bases and put it only on the four objects of Satipatthana. So when he puts it only on the four objects of Satipatthana, then he has put aside the covetousness and the grief for worldly things, because he does not pay attention to the six sense doors. Right? It depends, because this Satipatthana is just like concentration. If a monk is trying to practice concentration, if he has not perfected his concentration, has not attained jhana, he's only trying to attain jhana. You see? So in the same way, if a person is practicing Satipatthana, it might be that he is only trying to practice Satipatthana. He has not perfected it yet. But when he has perfected it, then he attains samadhi, jhana. Is that what the notes say in the commentary? Oh, there's a commentaries lah. Probably there's a wrong interpretation. That's the danger with commentarial interpretations. Sometimes they misinterpret something.
What's the difference between samadhi and jhana?
Okay, samadhi means concentration. Okay. Now, in the suttas, in the Noble Eightfold Path, the Buddha talked about samma samadhi as perfect samadhi. Okay, perfect samadhi. Perfect samadhi in the suttas is the four jhanas. That means you must attain up to the fourth jhana. That is perfect samadhi. Okay, but sometimes in the suttas, whenever the suttas talk about samadhi, the Buddha automatically means perfect samadhi. But that means since perfect samadhi is the fourth jhana, so the first jhana is not perfect samadhi. It's just concentration, it's just samadhi, one type of samadhi. First, second and third is not perfect samadhi. So jhana, first jhana, second jhana, third jhana is not necessarily perfect samadhi. Only the fourth jhana is perfect samadhi. In other words, to become an arahant, you need four jhanas. If you have just 1, 2 and 3, you might become a sakadagamin, second fruit attainer. If you want to attain third fruit and fourth fruit, you must have 4 jhanas. So you look in the case our Siddhartha Gautama, our Buddha, he said in the previous life he had met the Buddha Kassapa. And then after learning the Dhamma from the Buddha Kassapa, he renounced, became a monk. And then after that lifetime, he went to the Tusita heaven. And after Tusita heaven, he came down as Siddhartha Gautama and became the Sakyamuni Buddha. Okay. So when he was a small boy, Siddhartha Gautama, about 10 years old, could attain the first jhana. Right? It's mentioned. So since as a small boy he could attain the first jhana, it shows most probably he learned this first jhana when he was a monk under the Buddha Kassapa. That means in that lifetime as a monk under Buddha Kassapa, he did not attain higher than the first jhana. So having attained the first jhana and learned the Dhamma, very probably he became a Sakadagamin. That's why when he went up to Tusita heaven and came down as Siddhartha Gautama, it was time for him to attain enlightenment. Sakadagamin is a once returner, comes back as a human being only once, must enter Nibbana.
Sometimes we have a lot of meditation, very good concentration, very calm and all that. Then how do we know whether it is just a pure calmness or whether
if you want to understand, then you look into the sutta, the description of the first jhana. In the description of the first jhana, Buddha says, secluded or aloof from sensual pleasures, aloof from unwholesome states. Aloof from sensual pleasures, that means he doesn't pay any attention to the sense doors. He does not pay attention to sights, sounds, smells, tastes and all that. And then aloof from unwholesome states. He has no unwholesome thoughts. Does not think about the house, does not think about the office and all that. Then the monk enters and dwells in the first jhana, which is accompanied by 5 factors. Vitaka, vichara, thought directed and sustained. And then piti and sukha, delight and happiness. And then ekagata, one-pointed mind. So, if you enter the first jhana, you must have these 5 factors. If you don't have these 5 factors, and you have not entered, and you notice these 5 factors does not include the light. Nowadays, a lot of meditation teachers talk about the light. It's not inside here. Okay, shall we stop here tonight?